Oh my goodness. 2 days in a row with crazy NBA news. Welcome everyone to the stream. And here is the trade. Shams Charania reporting that Sacramento is finalizing a trade to send De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs in a multi-team trade that moves Chicago Bulls Zach LaVine to the Kings, which is absolutely crazy. A lot of movement. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan potentially back together again. Crazy stuff. Let's go back over to Shams, see if there's anything else right now. But here is your first look at De'Aaron Fox in a San Antonio Spurs jersey. Wow. First look at De'Aaron Fox in a Spurs jersey. Wow. Hopefully everyone is happy to be here. Welcome everyone to the stream. Crazy day here at Utility Sports, obviously. Wow. Utility Sports. I'm trying to fill in the description as we go here. Massive NBA trade as Kings trade De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs for Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls in a huge 3-team trade that breaks the NBA. Welcome everyone again to the stream. Of course, there was heavy reporting, heavy news, heavy rumors on the likelihood of a trade. We have almost 200 people in here watching. Robert, glad to have you back in here again today, Robert. Appreciate you, my man. And wow, a lot of crazy stuff going on. First look at De'Aaron Fox, though, in a Spurs jersey. This again reporting from Shams Charania here. I'm still waiting to see what the exact package is. Make sure you guys are commenting at me on Twitter if the news does come in, just so that I don't miss it. But Zach LaVine and De'Aaron Fox are reunited in Chicago, which is pretty interesting. The Bulls obviously did not have the most success with Nikola Vucevic. And DeMar DeRozan together. I mean, their team just wasn't that good with that trio. I mean, they were okay. And I think the Kings will be better than they were because Sabonis is really good. Sabonis is a lot better than Vucevic. But wow. Welcome everyone to the stream. After yesterday where Luka Doncic got traded in an absolute shocker, we have more shocking news. This one centered around De'Aaron Fox and Zach LaVine being traded in a deal together. This trade deadline is off to an epic start, an absolutely epic start. Really appreciate you guys a ton. Crazy stuff. Griffin here says check Chris Haynes. Let's go over to Chris Haynes and see what we got for news. Appreciate you guys for being in the comment section here. Kings are trading De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs in a 3-team deal that lands Zach LaVine in Sacramento along with 3 first-round picks. Okay, so they got LaVine's salary basically. Which I'm now understanding kind of the framework of this deal. This is important news. Welcome everyone to the stream. Glad you guys are here. I'm going to leave the chat in non-subscriber mode for a while, but if you guys do want to subscribe, that would be absolutely awesome. Aquino Asia says not a significant talent downgrade. They take on 3 first-round picks. I'm interested to see what goes to Chicago in all of this. I think that's kind of the big thing we're waiting for right now. We're still waiting for that news specifically. Welcome everyone to the stream. I hope you guys are enjoying so far. I'm going to move my cam over to the bottom corner here. I don't want to be in communities. I want to be in notifications. Nothing crazy yet, but again, here is the first look at De'Aaron Fox in a Spurs jersey. And one thing that I think is important to note, one key reminder, Kings had signed Zach LaVine to an offer sheet many moons ago. The Bulls ultimately matched that offer sheet. I think it was I think it was 4 years, $72-ish million. Zach now gets LaVine and massive draft compensation for De'Aaron Fox. A very big news here. The trade details are now out. Let's go get them from Shams Charania. Just broke. This news is brand new. 843 people watching live right now. It's so new I have to even refresh on here. Here's the full trade. Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. Kings get Zach LaVine, CD Sissoko, 3 first-round picks, one via Charlotte. Okay, that's important. That's really important. Though the 2025 Charlotte first becomes 2 second-round picks. If it doesn't convey, it won't convey. So really not 3 first-round picks, really. But they did get overall a lot of compensation. The Spurs did give up 3 firsts, though. Technically 4 in this deal. So absolutely crazy move here. One that does definitely change the landscape of the NBA quite a bit. Shout out to Aquino, by the way. He's a big-time Wizards fan. He comments at me a lot to make sure I see everything. Crazy day in the NBA again. Herter does go to Chicago. Let's, again, get the full trade details up now. I will be giving my trade grades here in just a second. I want to give myself a little bit of time to digest this information. The Spurs land De'Aaron Fox, who I think is either a B+ or an A- fit with Victor Wembanyama, and Jordan McLaughlin. I do need to comment here at Zodiac GM. What's the Fox and Wemby fit? I want to hear his thoughts on it because he has a very unique perspective. He's part of my my writing team. He's an absolute he's an absolute legend. But I'm curious, Zodiac GM, if you're watching right now or if you see on Twitter what his thoughts are. But here we are: Spurs, De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin. Kings, Zach LaVine, CD Sissoko, 3 first-round picks. One of them not really being a legitimate first-round pick, this 2025 Charlotte one. But they get this 2031 unprotected Minnesota pick and a 2027 Spurs pick. So honestly, if I had to rate the draft compensation the Kings get here, I would say it's like a B+, maybe a B. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick via San Antonio. So this is definitely interesting. Wow, they didn't have to give up Vassell or Castle. As I long stated, Spurs would never include either Vassell or Castle with picks. That was like my long position on that, was they were just not going to do picks and those players. It was one or the other, and Sacramento was not going to budge. Sacramento literally did not have the leverage, so not very surprising here. But I think the most important thing, and as we go back over here to Shams, to make sure we get the trade details up. Again, I'm going to be giving my trade grades live. Welcome everyone to the stream. Really appreciate you guys all so much. You guys are absolutely awesome. The Spurs did give up 4 first-round picks. You guys heard Robert Lamison here. Hit that like button. If you're excited for all the trade details, make sure to leave a like. Draft Point wants to know, what does this mean for Miami getting a familiar feeling they'll sit on their hands again and end up with nothing for Jimmy? I've stated this for a while too. I just don't think the market for Jimmy is going to produce a good trade for the Heat. Which I think is okay. Like right now, he's not playing. He's not even part of the team right now. So they're at a spot where I think the let's get to the overall trade grades here. I want to make sure that we get to that. 1,300 people watching live. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure to smash that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel too if you are new. I would love for you guys to be a part of what we do here at Utility Sports. I'm going to be live all week long. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This is the place to be. I'm going to be live all day, pretty much every single day. My voice is going to be absolute toast by the end of it, but it's all worth it so you guys can keep up to date on all the content, all the news. And this is a big time trade. So overall trade grade: Spurs, Kings, and Bulls. I'm going to give the Bulls a B+. Actually, no, I'm going to give them an A-. And I'll explain why here with every pick, okay? The Kings, I'm going to give the Kings an A- as well, and I'm going to give the Spurs a flat A. And I'm going to explain why for each thing here, okay? Let's start with the Bulls. I think the Bulls are kind of the easier one. Chicago is able to ultimately turn Zach LaVine into a first-round pick, something that was a challenging feat in the past. His strong play this year has help them stay afloat. Getting this 2025 pick back opens a ton Getting this 2025 pick back opens a ton of trade flexibility moving forward. So I think this is a big thing for Chicago. Honestly, like, had to eat some salaries. So not an A or A plus. Okay, that's kind of my rationale on the Bulls. I think it's pretty good. They got a first round pick for LaVine. LaVine's been awesome. LaVine's a really good player. Like, yeah, his contract's really, really bad. The Sacramento Bulls thing is weird. And this is kind of why I'm a little hesitant here. I think the Sabonis plus LaVine plus DeRozan trio is better than it was with Vooch, LaVine, DeRozan by quite a bit even. I think Sabonis is just significantly better than Vucevic. So, yeah, exactly. Like Scott was saying here, LaVine 25 points per game. Good luck finding that in the draft. So I think, Scott, this is where trade flexibility and opportunity cost is super important too. Like, you're probably not going to find it with that one pick, but the Bulls weren't going anywhere. And is it really, when you're trying to build a team, does it come down to how many points per game your top scorer averages? Or is it how many wins your team is aiming for and the serious long-term chance you have at actually winning? So this is something like, for Kings fans, like, I think an A- here is pretty fair. I think Sabonis, LaVine, and DeRozan is a pretty good trio. Not as good as some other trios in the NBA for sure, but it's better than the Vucevic LaVine one. Monk is a good player. Kings might have threaded the needle here, getting 2 real first round picks and 5 seconds into 2 twos, while simultaneously getting a strong offensive player. For the Spurs here, Fox plus Wemby is a great starting point. Spurs still have Mavs Wolves swap option in 2030. Hawks picks to play with, and a majority of their own draft capital as well moving forward. Spurs improve now and maintain flexibility to get better moving forward. So overall, I think this is honestly a pretty balanced trade. Welcome everyone to the stream, by the way. Really appreciate you guys. So Jared says only A. So yeah, Jerry, you might be right, honestly. Like, I am going to move this to an A plus, lower. Yeah, I'm just going to give it an A plus. I think you're right. For a bigger trade or other improvements later. Honestly, like, that's where I'm at with it. I think overall it's very, very good. Did not have to give up the Cellar Castle, which I think is important. Appreciate all of you guys for watching, by the way. Devin Carter, the starting point guard now. More PT for Keon Ellis and Carter for sure. I definitely think that those two guys will play a bit more, especially with Kevin Huerter trade. Lotto, I believe. So yeah, this is a huge home run. Alfred Matthews says Rockets get an F for allowing the Spurs to get him. I want to know your guys' trade grades. Comment them down below. right now. Also, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to put the chat to subscriber only mode. Now, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. It's completely free to you. We have 1,800 people watching live. Last night, we had 5,000 people watching with the Luka Doncic trade. Absolutely crazy. Hello there says how we managed to trade Zach thanks to whoever took him. I mean, he had a huge contract, that's for sure. So let's keep staying up to date on all the news here. Chris Haynes. The one thing too, I think Chicago landing Trey Jones here is interesting. And Zach Collins in this too is unique. He's bad salary, so it's like that's why I think for San Antonio it's pretty good. Like getting off of this, McLaughlin is San Antonio's whatever. Like I don't really care. Jordan McLaughlin's not a good NBA player, but let's go back over to Shams because I want to spend a little bit more time talking about all of those picks because I think that's what a lot of you guys are curious about. For Sacramento, I think they might have threaded the needle here decently. So here's the thing. CD Sissoko, I wasn't a huge fan of his. I don't really know if he's going to be a long-term NBA player or not. I really don't think so. Let's talk about these picks, though. So the Bulls here, specifically with this 2025 first-round pick, let me stop this screen share quick, and let me get this screen share going right now. Because this is one I've been working really hard to have it ready. I actually got it all finalized today just for it to not be valid anymore. So thank you to this trade. But I have the Utility Sports draft pick tracker, and I have every single draft pick in the NBA listed right now with who has it, where is it at. It's all there. And this important note right here, this little blue box, this color denotes that the draft pick cannot be traded due to the Stepien rule. So when we go to the Chicago Bulls, which I'm going to put my camera back in the top right, the Chicago Bulls, because of this, since it was top 10 protected with top 8 protections the next 2 years, now they just flat out own this. Which, do you know what that does? That makes this go back to this. And this one gets to go back to this. Look at that. The Chicago Bulls doing this reopened all of their own first-round pick trade flexibility. This is a really, really good job. This is a really good job from the Chicago Bulls. So you're going to get to see this updated live. Let's go down to the San Antonio Spurs. And you're going to see why San Antonio is still really well loaded. Okay, here's the Spurs. Again, I put a lot of work on this. Spent so much time. You guys have no idea. Tracking second-round picks, who owns what swaps, all of this garbage. It's insane. Like, look at this. The Spurs have the Nuggets second-round pick if it's between pick 34 and 60. Do you know how difficult it is to find all this information to make sure it's all correct and double-check it and triple-check it to make sure I'm right for stream? This spent so much time to put together. This is why I was so excited for this. So I hope you guys do enjoy. So here's the thing. They no longer have this pick. So we can wipe that pick out and we'll move this Hornets pick over, except for the fact that this Hornets pick is no longer here either. But this pick was never going to show up. And what it becomes is it becomes a 2026 second rounder and a 2027 second rounder. So now if we go to the Sacramento Kings, and you get to see how all of this works, this now becomes Hornets and Hornets second round pick, which is technically Hornets lotto protected first. So again, I have a lot of this memorized too, by the way, so that we can talk about it, but the graphics here for you. So with this now in mind, I think one of the important things here is like technically right now, well, with the protection, I'm not exactly sure, but I do need to go over here real quick, back over to Twitter. But this is where we're at right now with the trade. So then the Spurs also gave up their 2027 first. So let's go back and take a look at that. The Spurs gave up their own 2027. Okay. Which that does not actually hurt their flexibility because they have this Hawks pick. So this now goes to Sacramento. The Kings get a 2027 Spurs first round pick right there. So that's an important note, okay? They also get their 2028 own first-round pick back. And I think that was we already had talked about that. I'm pretty sure I already fixed that. Yeah, so the Spurs had like a more favorable on that. So this is good. But hopefully everyone is enjoying right now. Frosty, I'm going to put you in timeout quick. Cameron Thomas, I don't think got traded. today. So important note, but so this is what I've been working on. I've been working really, really hard on this. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed the stream so far. If you have, leave a like and subscribe. Aaron, thank you so much for the positive words on this. Hello there says if they get top 10 picks, then those picks would be gone onto next year. That's not how all backup protections work. No Limit says just subscribe. That's fire. Appreciate you, my man. A lot of work going into this, but we'll see what happens with San Antonio. But so the biggest thing here is the Bulls. The Bulls reopened all of their flexibility. And from a second round draft pick standpoint, there's of course a lot of moves in this as well. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to have to fix on the spreadsheet. I'm not going to do it all right now in front of you guys. But the Bulls, the Kings got a bunch of second round picks, one from Chicago. Let me get this back up on stream too. So I hope you guys do enjoy everything that you're seeing here. Obviously, I put a lot of work in for this trade deadline. In fact, this is the most prepared I've ever been for trade deadline live streams. I was hoping to debut the spreadsheet tomorrow, but you guys got to see it today. So I think it's a W trade though. Overall, and I think the collection of stuff here, I think Trey Jones, I think Chicago walking out with Trey Jones and their own pickbacks a pretty big win, honestly. Like, yeah, you have to eat Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter's contract, but all in all, the Bulls shed that third-year salary. LaVine had 2 years after this season, whereas Collins and Huerter only have 1 year after this year, so I think that's a pretty significant piece of information for this. The Spurs get obviously the best player in the trade in De'Aaron Fox, a player who he is going to be quite expensive on a salary when it comes to his next extension. That will be an important thing to note, but I think for all things considered, the direction of the Bulls franchise, and listen, they probably didn't get fair value for how good of a player Zach LaVine is. I think they got fair value for Zach LaVine's contract and their current situation. And I think trading Zach LaVine also puts the Bulls in a better spot to, with their own future draft picks now in hand, maybe responsibly tank. And I think that's one thing I do need to add here. I think, let me put this back in the bottom corner for you guys too. Welcome everyone to the stream, by the way. If it's your first time here seeing Utility Sports, I hope you are enjoying so far. I think for Chicago, trading LaVine and getting back their own firsts and future flexibility as a result opens the door to legitimate tanking. Fire sale incoming? That's really the question here. I think Chicago. I think this is a responsible move from Chicago. I really do. Thank you, Aaron, for the follow. Thank you to S as well for the follow. Appreciate both of you a ton for following. Links in the description, by the way. And again, I think this is one of the most important things. Hornets pick in this deal becomes 2026 and 2027 second rounders. So Kings, in theory, did not get 3 real firsts, but a collection of assets and a good player in LaVine. So overall, it's not terrible for San Antonio or for Sacramento. Avoiding a true rebuild meant less draft capital for Sac. Like, that's honestly like the truth, because the one pick that went from Chicago or went from San Antonio to Chicago ended up, being a pick that realistically someone else could have gotten. Leaky Black, thank you for the follow, as well as Lelugi, and also Master Gator, thank you for the follow over there. Marcus says Kings F, trading Fox for Zach LaVine and 2 far out first is simply awful. I mean, like, LaVine's not a bad player. This is one thing here. I'm gonna go real quick. Let's pull this up on stream for everyone right now. I know we're gonna be box score warriors here for a second. Everyone comment box score warrior down in the comment section. This is LaVine this season. 24 points a game, 4.5 boards, 4.5 assists, 45% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. His effective field goal percentage is crazy this year. 61% from the field, and he has 3 win shares. And if we go down to his advanced numbers as well, I mean, his BPM is a 1.4, which, I mean, if you honestly like looking at it, with the way people talk about Zach LaVine, they act like his BPM hasn't been positive like the last like 6 or 7 years. Like, no, I'm not saying he's like an elite, like superstar player, but this isn't like a brutal player. This is a good player. Like, Zach LaVine is good. I mean, look at his true shooting percentage. And this is, I think, the most important thing for me right now. Zach LaVine's contract is a negative with the new CBA. Zach LaVine on the basketball court is not a negative. It's difficult to separate those two things, but you must. LaVine is boasting a near 64% true shooting this season while scoring 24 plus points per game and averaging 4.5 assists and boards. Like, he's a pretty darn good player, honestly. Like, I think he fits pretty well with Sabonis. So Chris here says King should have traded Fox back after Halliburton last year. I mean, the whole thing, it kind of stems back to the Halliburton trade. I never thought they should have traded Halliburton. But Ben Clevenger, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you a ton. Andrew Carr, thank you for the follow over on Twitter, as well as Bone Garcia. Thank you all so much for the follows. Appreciate you guys all a ton. I think this is a really important note here. Zach LaVine's contract is negative, but his play on the court is not. He's a very good player. And I think, honestly, he's a very good player in Chicago, even, which is very tough. Anthony Davis, by the way, will wear number 3 in Dallas. Let's go over to ETN Catalan quick, and you guys can see that. Here's Anthony Davis's new number 3. Shout out to ETN Catalan, by the way. Obviously, Luka wearing number 77 there in LA. But one thing I do want to do real quick, let's go over to a basketball play designer. What I want to do real quick is, let's see if this is the one I want. Yes, this is. Okay. So we're going to talk about how De'Aaron Fox fits with how De'Aaron Fox fits with Wemby. Okay, this is gonna be a quick little basketball X's and O's discussion. Okay, so in this exercise here, number 1 is of course De'Aaron Fox. Okay, number 5 is of course Victor Wembanyama. Number 3 will be Vassell or whoever. Number 2 will be some other shooter, and 4 will be like Jeremy Sohan, for example. What I really think here, especially with the Spurs spacing, so X3, X2, X1, these are defenders, okay? And this is a really important part. You guys all need to stay and make sure to pay attention to this, because this will explain some of the possibilities of playing De'Aaron Fox with Wembanyama together and the difficulties of these two, being on the floor, right? Like, these guys are just both very good at basketball. By the way, I need to grab one thing real quick. Sure, that will work. We'll get that. I need to post something on Twitter real quick. Everyone just hold on one second. I'm going to get to this in just a minute, okay? Let me go back on Twitter and post. Iconic. Okay, so back to the fit here. Let's just say we got Jeremy Sohan as the 4 working off the baseline, right? We're going to get to some kind of spacing here like this, like some high ball screen, okay? This is what's going to make this super special. This is what makes this whole fit super special. De'Aaron Fox, you think about his skill set specifically. He is a downhill point guard and one of the better pull-up shooters in basketball. You think back to his playoff series for Sacramento against Golden State. He dominated that series with pull-up jump shot making. He's been a very good jump shooter. He's been a very good pull-up jump shooter specifically. I think one of his biggest areas of growth from where he was as a prospect coming out of Kentucky, where the jump shot was kind of the question mark of how good his jump shot would be, to where he is now, which is a very established jump shot maker, especially on pull-up shots. So when it comes to teams defending Wembanyama, like, the one thing you're never going to want to do on this now is blitz. Because if you blitz De'Aaron Fox, Wembanyama is going to short roll right here, and you're going to hit a little pocket pass. Ball gets into Wembanyama. X4 feels like he's got to step up. You're getting to the rim, and Sohan sitting in the dunker spot for layups and dunks. So this is first of all why you will never want to blitz De'Aaron Fox. Okay, and you know, teams probably aren't going to blitz De'Aaron Fox a ton. This is why I would have preferred Trae Young, for example. I thought Trae Young would have been an A+ fit with Wembanyama for this exact reason, because Trae Young's a better short roll passer. He's a better passer in general than Fox, and he also demands blitzes more because of his shooting gravity. But, okay, we're going to talk about it now where, okay, let's say you don't blitz. Let's say you don't blitz De'Aaron Fox. What are teams going to do? Well, here's some of the options for San Antonio. What if you have your 7'5" freak unicorn alien who is unlike any other player in NBA history, just ghost screen? He comes up like he's going to set a screen, and he just ghosts it. He just walks through. And, oh, well, now guess what? He's just open because X5's here either in drop or trying to hedge the screen. Because guess what? If you don't hedge the screen, Fox is really good at getting downhill. So as teams are going to want to stay attached to the body here of Victor Wembanyama, you don't want to give Wembanyama space. Any good screen is going to give De'Aaron Fox this downhill runway. It's going to give him either this pull-up jump shot. So if you're in drop coverage, you're going to have Wemby rolling into space, and you're now going to test this guy in drop, and you've got a pull-up jump shooter here, or you've got a dive option to the biggest diver in basketball, or you can go to this ghost option where it's going to put X5 in a little bit of a bind of, okay, do I step toward De'Aaron Fox, who's a good downhill driver and a pull-up jump shooter? Like, these are some of the things that De'Aaron Fox brings to San Antonio, which I'm very much excited for. I think this is a huge overall win for the Spurs. I think that this is just really, really good. In general, let's go back over to Twitter now. But I wanted to talk about that and break down exactly like why I think this is like an A- fit. Now, again, I think Trae Young would have been better in a few different ways, but the Spurs got a lot more athletic. They added a player who has downhill force and is just a flat-out good shooter. So Brian K here says Spurs just upgraded their athleticism a lot. That's exactly what I just said. I completely agree. Getting Fox and no more Jones and Collins in the rotation, completely agree. On the big thing, and Brian, I know you feel this way as well, they were able to keep this, I mean, backup protections for 2 more years after this season. So why risk it when you can reset your team? Like, I think the Bulls were very smart here, getting their own pick back and getting involved here. So honestly, I think this is a pretty balanced trade. I think the Spurs walk out really good. Getting De'Aaron Fox is a really good player. De'Aaron Fox is awesome. Keeping both Castle and Vassell sets up the Spurs to have a brilliant overall roster construction moving forward that fits on paper. Fox, Castle, Vassell, Sohan, Wemby is an awesome lineup with a lot of potential upsides in terms of playmaking, juice, and perimeter talent. Like, I just think that they're in honestly such a special spot here. The Spurs are. I think that they're just really, really smart overall, to be honest. Let me, what am I looking for here? Oh yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for. De'Aaron Fox is really smart. And I tweeted this a little bit over a month ago. It's funny how quickly it kind of became truth. I said whichever NBA star is smart enough to say I'm only willing to resign with San Antonio, so trade me to the Spurs. Essentially, what Fox did here will reap the benefits of playing with a top 5 player in the history of the game, and I think it's honestly like really good. I don't think the Kings got fleeced here, John. I really don't. I think the Kings did pretty good. I think the Kings did really, really well here for themselves, getting. They got technically, so John, the one thing I'll say is they technically got 2 firsts and 5 seconds given the Charlotte pick and its contingencies because it's lottery protected. But 2 firsts, 5 seconds, and LaVine is not bad. And it kind of resets the board here for the Kings a bit. So I think honestly, like it's a really, really solid situation with everything considered. Captain Fear says, honestly, Cam Johnson trade is something everyone is curiously waiting on if it happens. I do think it will happen for sure. But I think De'Aaron Fox is really smart. I think the overall situation played out very, very well. I appreciate everyone who has been following, by the way. Shout out to Ray for the follow. Shout out to L Real G. Shout out to Raleigh Gonzalez. Shout out to Jonathan for the follow, as well as Dibs and Cellar Door. Shout out to Villanova 23 for the follow. Shout out to Eugene Webster and New York Postman, as well as Yishi. Appreciate all of you so much for the follows over there. We have surpassed 3,300 followers, which is absolutely awesome. 2,000 people still watching live. What I want to do here now is go back over to our spreadsheet. I want to start updating it here a little bit so that everyone can get the overall feel of what has happened here and what's transpired. Let's focus on the Sacramento Kings. And I think putting my picture, let's see, which one do I want? I think the top right here is probably the best. It kind of blocks a little bit, but it's okay. We'll make it work. We'll do something like this. So the Kings got this Hornets lottery protected first. And this one becomes these picks, okay? It becomes those picks right here, these second round picks in 2026 and 2027. Okay, so that's, first of all, very important. That's the important news that you guys need to know in order to understand exactly what's going on with that specifically, okay? That pick, the Hornets pick, is the one that's going to be misleading for a lot of people because they're going to say, oh my gosh, we got 3 firsts, but it's really 2 firsts and 2 first and 5 second round picks. Those 2 extra second rounders are these Hornets ones in 2026 and 2027. But they also got other stuff. So they got a 2025 Bulls pick, which is protected top 55. So now this protection has been lifted. So this becomes just flat out Bulls. Okay. Now the Kings own that Bulls pick. They also now own 2028 Nuggets pick. They did not own any second round picks in 2028. They now have the Nuggets pick here to work with. And they got their own 2028 back as well. So Kings pick now here. The Bulls, importantly, got, of course, their 2025 first back. Now also in here. So the Kings had less favorable of their own in 2031. But what they do get now is they also get a 2027 Spurs pick. They get the 2025 Charlotte one. And they also get this 2031 Timberwolves pick. And I don't think that's a terrible pick to have. If you look at Anthony Edwards' contract, who knows about the future of the Timberwolves? They own a bunch of draft picks. They just traded Karl Anthony Towns. Now their team is young. They are good. It's not a foregone conclusion that they'll be bad in 2031, but that pick could have the most upside. And that's something I do want to tweet out right now. The 2031 first via Timberwolves is a sneaky, solid get for Sacramento. Who knows what the future holds? And far out picks sometimes materialize wonderfully. You never really know in the NBA. So I think that's like probably the best first round pick they got in the deal, honestly. Like the 2027 Spurs pick, I'm a little pessimistic on because they have Wembanyama. They're going to be probably pretty good. But that's the updated picture here. So when we go to San Antonio, if we head down to the Spurs, the things that they mortgaged their own 2027 first, but they do have the Hawks. So we're going to move the Hawks over. They have the Hawks first round pick, which keeps their trade flexibility alive. They really did not hurt their own trade flexibility. They, of course, gave up that 2025 Hornets first. They gave up the 2025 Bulls first in this. and they gave up this 2031 Timberwolves first. So there has been significant shifts here, but I think the overall product in this situation is still really, really good for San Antonio. San Antonio's tradable first round picks remain. So this is what they have to trade still. 2025 own. They have 2025 Hawks. They have 2026 best of Spurs or Hawks. They have 2027 Hawks. They have 2028 best of Spurs Celtics. They have 2029 own. They have 2030 best of Spurs, Mavs, Celtics. I'm tweeting this, by the way, too, which is why I'm sounding like a robot here while I read it. But 2031, they have best of Spurs, Kings. Still loaded and ready to either replenish. Yeah, I'm just going to say still loaded. I think they're like, who knows what they're going to do with those picks. They could look to make another big trade later down the road if they decide they want to, or they could just look to continue building up their team. But overall, like, this team is genius. They're in a great spot. They're very, very smart. Now, yes, the Lakers walked away with Luka Doncic last night. So B-Max here says Fox is overrated. Wembanyama should shoot fewer threes. Changed my mind. So I think Fox is like a fringe all-star level player. I don't think that's overrated. Maybe by some fans, like, he's overrated, but I for Wembanyama, like, there's areas of the floor I wish he would operate out of more. Like, I wish he was out of the dunker spot more. I wish he was playing not posting up, but I wish he was standing in the corner a little bit more. That's something most star players just never do, and I don't really understand why, because they have so much gravity. They can stretch the floor in a lot of different ways, and I'm interested to see if the Spurs lean into that a little bit with De'Aaron Fox now on the roster. But what I do think here overall for Wembanyama, I mean, he's shooting 36% from three. He's shooting about league average from three. He should not shoot less threes. He's been brilliant. He's been awesome. Now, I think the one thing is he needs to shoot like less long twos a little bit and get to the paint a little bit more. Again, a lot of that scheme dependent. I think that's where De'Aaron Fox is going to help a ton. I think De'Aaron Fox, again, I think this is something I want to make sure you guys see on Twitter. Let me share my screen for this. I want to... I think De'Aaron Fox is a B+ or A- fit with Wembanyama. His downhill gravity and pull-up shooting will pair nicely with Victor in the pick and roll. Spurs now have a guy that can allow Wemby to go screen, slip screens more, or even set a ton of inverted 51 action screens. Fun. I think it's a lot of fun, honestly. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's like a pretty good overall fit. So I'm happy with it. I think for San Antonio, like, it's hard. Like, while I would have preferred Trae Young, Fox was available, and Young is seemingly not right now. Like, I think that honestly, like, they're really, really well set up. The Spurs are. The Spurs are really, really well set up. So, like, they've got all of their stuff to work with. Like, they're just in a great position. They really are. Like, if you're a Spurs fan, you should be really happy right now. You made a significant upgrade without really, like, hurting all of your long-term trade flexibility. And I think getting something done with the Bulls pick, getting something done with the Hornets pick is really good. And I honestly do think it's worth an A+ grade. We have over 300 likes on the stream, by the way, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like on the stream if you're having fun, if you're enjoying the content here. And then also don't forget to subscribe. Really, really appreciate it if you guys could all hit that subscribe button. Again, here pretty soon, I'm going to be putting the chat into subscriber-only mode, and it's completely free. Just hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. Rondo2 Ross says, my front office might actually be stupid, bro. So he's a Bulls fan. Let me walk you through this here, though. I really don't think it's that bad for Chicago. Chicago's able to ultimately turn Zach LaVine into a first-round pick, something they haven't been able to do. Now, you could say, well, the signing LaVine to the extension that they did was bad. I agree with that, but ultimately, he's been good this year. They were able to get a first-round pick, and it wasn't just a first-round pick, it was theirs. And I think even though that sounds like a diminished result of a top 10 pick that they maybe could have just had the draft pick to anyway, it opens up a lot of flexibility. They had to eat some salaries, but it's not an A or an A+ because of that. But I do think overall, like when we look at the overall picture here for me, like getting their own first back and future flexibility as a result opens the door to legitimate tanking and a possible fire sale. Like they still have Nikola Vucevic to maybe move. Who knows? Maybe they don't get a first round pick for him. Probably not. But maybe they get 4 or 5 second rounders or 3 second rounders. And those are roster spots that you can fill with hopefully young talent that maybe you hit on 1 or 2 of those picks, and it can be valuable. Daniel says we were already going to have our first rounder. There was a 95% chance we were keeping it. It's only top 10 protected. Daniel, again, though, this is where you need to understand something. It was top 10 protected this year. It's top 8 protected next year and top 8 protected the year after that. So unless you are planning on being absolutely horrible for the next 3 years, this year, next year, and the year after, you are risking losing that pick at some point. That is now reverted. That's not a danger anymore. And because of that, you couldn't trade a 2026 first. You couldn't trade a 2027 first. You couldn't trade a 2028 first. Now you have that flexibility. This is a good trade for the Bulls. And again, I'm going to tweet this too because I think there's a lot of confusion on this. And it's not just you, Daniel. And I see your comment here too on this. Like, it's not just you. The reason I'm getting a little fired up about it is because I think there's a lot of people that are questioning this. And Lex, this is a great question. So in how many years will Bulls rebuild? It starts now. Want to clear up confusion. Bulls pick. They since Bulls got their own pick back that was T10 protected, people seem to think that isn't a valuable thing, but it was T8 protected in 2026 and 2027, so possibly still could have conveyed in the future. Bulls now don't have to worry about that and can full on tank for this year to enter the flag sweepstakes while having future flexibility. So I think this is low-key a good move for Chicago. Again, like they could have just tanked and then tried to figure it out. But again, it also comes down to the fact that they just weren't getting first-round picks from other teams for LaVine. And I think that's a very important thing to note. Mike, thank you so much for the follow over on Twitter. Appreciate you. Diops as well. Thanks for the follow. Mason, thanks for the follow. Joey for the thanks. Charlie for the follow, as well as Persian Archaeologist. And back over to Ray. So appreciate you all so much. Chase says this dude is a nerd. Yeah, I kind of am. And it's okay because I'm a hooper nerd. I like basketball. So it's a lot less fun things I could like. Like, yeah, I have a spreadsheet of every single draft pick in the NBA. I'm a nerd. You got me. I'm sorry. I put a lot of work and time into what I do for a living. So, in fact, I put more work in than I think most other people do in NBA media. I was covering the Timberwolves last year, like in person before I moved. So, like, I feel like I'm going somewhere with it for real. So, but yeah, I've got an NBA spreadsheet. I am a nerd. Robert says, no, you're very good. I mean, I'm trying my best here. Tristan says, Spurs won insane. I think the Spurs did really well. Again, I gave them an A+ grade. At first, I gave them an A, but I thought about it a little bit more. Getting off of Zach Collins, only having to move Trey Jones, like those are big W's. Justin here wants to know about his Suns. So this is a reminder here. If you see these little blue, different colored things, that means that pick cannot be traded because of the stepping rule with the current collection of assets. The interesting thing about the Suns, they only have one of those because of the trade that they made with Utah. It opens up flexibility to trade a variety of different picks. This 2030 first cannot be traded, though, because they do not have their 2031 first. But this is what the Suns have to work with. Ol Hung says, nah, bro, rock that spreadsheet. Forget the noise. Oh, yeah, I was kind of just joking about it. I'm not even worried about it at all. So I love it. I love the NBA. I love what I do. And I love talking to you guys. Brendan says Sheldon is going to be in a front office coaching one day. You watch. Brendan, appreciate you. I honestly want to be so bad. Like, that's what I really want to do. I feel like that's what I was put on earth to do, to be honest. So I live, eat, sleep, and breathe basketball. And if you guys have been watching the channel, you know that. It's honestly fun. Like last night was a blur because of the Luka trade, and I was not prepared for that. But I feel like today I have my bearings a little bit better because, I kind of expected a Fox trade. I thought LaVine would get moved. Now, it wasn't exactly the kind of deal I thought was going to happen, but I'm happy with it. I think it was actually a pretty balanced trade, more balanced than last night's. Matthew says, you are underpaid, Sheldon. Appreciate you, my man. You guys are all helping me out a ton here just by hanging out in the chat, obviously, and being awesome viewers. You guys are fantastic. Like, that's the one thing I say every year at the trade deadline. I firmly mean it. Like, the reason Utility Sports starts with a U is because it starts with you guys. Like, you all are so important, and that people are going to really call me a nerd after how cheesy that was. But like, honestly, like I can't do this without you. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here talking to my computer. So you guys are all absolutely awesome, and I really do appreciate you guys a ton. Milwaukee Cards here says Sheldon should be in an NBA front office. That's the hope. That's the goal. Front office, or honestly, what I really want to do is coach. But I've given myself, I think, the best possibility of getting where I want to be sometime by working hard and memorizing the NBA, CBA, and all the little stuff I do, putting together work like this, which I think is really special. I hope this is like, I really hope people enjoy this all trade deadline long, because again, this took me, I'm telling you guys, like, I don't even know how many hours, but it was a ton. Like, it takes so long to put together something like this and track, like, oh, well, where's this pick? And, this, that, or the other thing. Like, this pick is no longer the Spurs, by the way, that Bulls pick. That's now fully belonging to Sacramento. So Grant Info wants to know if the Wizards will get a first-round pick for Kyle Kuzma. Probably not, to be honest. Valiston wants to know about the Hornets. Let's go up to Charlotte real quick. So Charlotte is a very interesting one because of this pick that they'll keep, but as a result, they can't trade this, but otherwise they have all of their own future first. They have the more favorable of Blazers Pelicans in 2027, and also in 2027, they have the Heat lottery pick, which would become unprotected in 2028, so that pick would technically go down to here. And they also have this Mavericks top 2 protected pick, so a lot of crazy stuff. $5 super chat. Thank you, Matt, for the $5 super chat. He says, you're killing it, man. How do my Thunder look now? Do we make a move? So here's the thing about Oklahoma City, and I am extremely happy you asked this question. The Thunder, first of all, are fantastic. They're an awesome basketball team. They should be considered the favorite to come out of the Western Conference this year. Here's the thing on Oklahoma City. Look at all of these draft picks. They have the Sixers. They have the more favorable of Rockets Clippers this year. They have the Heat. And they also have this Jazz top 10 protection, which becomes top 8 in 2026. So that one would be technically down here if/when it does not convey this year. But the one thing I want to point out here, they don't have other teams first in 2030 and 2031. And you might say, well, that looks pretty normal. Most teams don't. Like, if we scroll down here, Minnesota doesn't have other team stuff down here. Yeah, but this is Oklahoma City we're talking about. This is Sam Presti we're talking about. If I know anything, Sam Presti is going to look at his current roster and say, wait, we have 3 first-round picks this year, and we probably don't have 3 roster spots to give away. Why don't we try and make some kind of trade where we use 2 of these first, or 1 of these first, and maybe this 26 or 2026 first? We try and trade for some team 2031 first who we think might not be good down the road. And some deal like that might really come to fruition. So Matt, really great question. Thank you again so much for the 5. I think the Thunder are in a very good position to be a trade facilitator. They'll maybe look at upgrading on the margins, but I don't really see a need for them to do that. Oh, we have news. Holy cow, we have news. Okay, this is pretty important. Matt, again, thank you so much for the 5. We're going to go back over to Twitter real quick. Wow. This is from Brian Windhorst of ESPN. I do trust his reporting quite a bit. The Heat's Jimmy Butler has communicated to the Warriors that he's unwilling to sign an extension there, and therefore trade talks to send him to Golden State have ended for now. Whispers Phoenix. I'm going to send a sun emoji. That's what's happening here. That's the reason that this is doing what it's doing. Jimmy Butler wants to be a Phoenix Sun. Very, very pointedly. He wants to be a Phoenix Sun. Thank you to Omega Darkside for the 5. He says Spurs kept their main rotation and Hawks pick. OMG, how? And that's where it's a huge win, which is why I gave it an A+. They got off of some bad salary. And now the Jimmy Butler, here's one of the big things with Jimmy Butler. He has a player option for next season. He could technically opt out, although I don't really expect him to, unless he has an extension in place, which maybe that does happen with a certain team. Phoenix, cough. Here's the thing. The Jimmy Butler situation, he has more control than you would think he should, because he doesn't have a no trade clause. Realistically, he shouldn't be able to get traded where, he should be able to get traded to whatever team that Pat Riley and the Heat decide. The issue is Jimmy Butler can do exactly this and tank his own trade value and say, yeah, but I'm not going to stay with you. So are you going to really rent me? Are you going to use me as a contract rental? That doesn't make sense. So Jimmy Butler's biggest option is the Phoenix Suns. Robert Lamison says, Sheldon the GOAT. Appreciate you, Robert. Robert's the GOAT. Let's get some W's for Robert down in the chat. W. Robert, he is an absolute legend. Again, I said it last night with the Mavericks trade, but I'm going to say it again now. One of the first ever viewers at Utility Sports. I'm dead serious. Probably was subscribed to us within the first 100, 200 subs on the channel. He is an absolute W legend. So let's get some W's in here for Robert. He's an absolute beast and absolutely deserves all the love in the world for being, first of all, a true diehard when it comes to Utility Sports content, and then also just being an awesome dude. He's an absolute beast. So Sheldon the Great, Lord of the NBA Matrix. Honestly, that's how it's going sometimes. Mario says, does Jimmy have CTE or what? First ever NBA player with CTE would go crazy. I'm not going to lie. Oh my goodness. But I really hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. I'm having a lot of fun. Streams tonight have been sweet, by the way. Just awesome viewers. Love having all your guys' questions. Lanaya here says, can someone explain the Hawks pick for me? Yeah, let's. So the Hawks pick specifically here, let me go full screen. The Hawks pick, the Hawks owe their pick to San Antonio. They owe a swap in 2026. They owe their unprotected pick in 2027 and their unprotected pick in 2025, which right now this year, it looks like that pick could be anywhere from about pick 7, 8 before the lottery to maybe somewhere like pick 15, 16, depending on what happens on the stretch of the season. And that swap now in 2026 just became even more valuable for San Antonio after making a win now upgrade, trading for De'Aaron Fox. So hopefully that explains it pretty well for you. Grant here says Bradley Beal says he's not lifting his no trade clause. Not sure how Butler gets to Phoenix since Brad's not lifting. Here's the thing. I was going to tweet this the other day, and I'm going to tweet it now actually because this reminded me, Grant. I think this is a real possibility, honestly. I've thought about this a lot. For those who don't know, DNPCD is a did not play coach's decision. Okay, so basically the Suns would completely bench him. They've already moved him to the bench as a sixth man. I wonder if they try and really piss him off and get him to be willing to get traded. We'll see what happens, but Beal to Milwaukee could still be on the table. So we'll see ultimately how that all plays out. But I'm glad to see all the W's coming in for Robert. He definitely deserves it. Oh, another Robert in here says legend. He likes all the W's too. Brady says, Sheldon, you called LaVine to the Kings years ago. I did. Yeah, I actually did talk about. I wonder if I could find that now. Let me look. Also, by the way, guys, if you want to support the channel and support me specifically, one of the best ways to do that is go click some of those links in the description. It's for the Utility Sports Twitter. It's for my brand new Substack, which has just gotten launched this week, essentially. So you guys are really getting the first access to that, as well as the Discord, which I, of course, am a big part of. And we have awesome moderators and a really awesome community. So if you love talking about basketball, if you love being around people who have similar interests as you, that's one of the best places to be. And I love seeing all these W's again coming in for Robert. I think fostering a community here is one of my favorite things. R here asking the real question, is Fox keeping number 5? Let's see. Let's go back over to our jersey specialist, Etienne Catalan. He does a whole bunch of jersey work. Max Christie's wearing 00, which is interesting. I'm going to just post at him. Any idea on which number Fox chooses in San Antonio? Keep up the great work, by the way. He does really awesome work. So I'm curious to see if he has an idea. We'll get that answer for you, R. That is an important question. Steven wants to know any thoughts on how the Jazz could use the Tucker contract. Just an expiring. The issue here now, though, is they cannot aggregate him with another salary. So they could trade him for any other salary around the league. That fits financially, but I don't think that they're going to be like the biggest thing. So the Hawks, the Spurs don't really need to tank, honestly. Graham here says Spurs need to address perimeter defense. Ball security seems okay now, though offensive effort, crashing the boards also needs to be a priority. Fun to see how this plays out. I still think like part of this too, Graham, might just come through development. Like this team is still really young. Which is what's so exciting. Gordo here says NBA best sport. This is why the news we've had. This is why the news we've had in the last 2 days. Yeah, it's been insane, hasn't it? As a Dallas Mavericks fan, I don't want to really revisit last night. I was not in my best headspace last night, but it's been a movie the last 24 hours for sure. Big J52 said, "Yes, sir. Sunday night utility sports doesn't get much better." I've got something for you guys too that you might enjoy. I'm not going to show it, but I will say it here. Mock draft Monday, tomorrow. I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy that. That's been a big hit in the past. I'm in a much better mood tonight, Georgia Dog. Much better mood tonight than I was last night. Austin's doing really well, Robert. I'll make sure to tell him that you asked about him if he's not watching the stream right now, which he might be, but I'll be sure to let him know, okay? Mark says, Sheldon, can you repeat all the trades that happened today? The only one. This is the only one right now, but we will go look at it real quick because it is definitely worth taking a look at. So yesterday was this trade. Luka, Kleba, Markieff Morris for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, Lakers first. Jazz got Jalen Hood-Schifino in 2 seconds. And then let's look here. Overall trade grades. For this trade, the full trade was De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. For Zach LaVine, CD Sissoko, 3 firsts, which one of them is a fake first-round pick. This Hornets one will not be a real first. Bulls pick, second round. So this is the deal, really. It's LaVine, CD Sissoko, 2 firsts, 5 seconds. Bulls get some bad salaries in Herder Collins. Trey Jones is moved, and then also the 2025 first via San Antonio. So Trisona wants to know if I think Houston will make any moves. I think they're in position to if they want to. They have expiring salaries and a bunch of them, so they can definitely make a move for sure. Music Note says, really liking this channel, very informative. Appreciate you, Music Note, a ton. And for those of you who maybe are new, I'm going to get this up on the screen now, just so you guys don't miss out on it. I have every single draft pick in the NBA documented right now. Every single draft pick that's tradable, I know where it is. I have it documented and listed so we can talk about it. This took a lot of time, a lot of work, but I think this will be an absolute game changer for our coverage here at the trade deadline this year. So I'm super stoked for this. Information is key. Having all the information present and available to me is super, super huge. So I really hope you guys are enjoying. Clips Plug, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you in here, my man. Brianna Torres says Sixers trade. We'll keep our eyes out on the Sixers. They don't have a lot of stuff, honestly, to trade. They don't have a lot of tradable salaries. And I think that's one of the difficulties that they'll have to deal with. Matt Stringer says, can the Knicks trade something? The Knicks have Mitchell Robinson's contract to trade. And when it comes to draft picks, obviously the Mikal Bridges trade complicated this a little bit. But they do have a little bit of flexibility here. They have this Wizards like kind of fake first round pick, right? It's probably not going to convey given the Wizards are trying to be bad on purpose. They have a few second round picks, including the second and third most favorable second rounders in 2027. But all in all, this is where they kind of sit right now. So I really hope you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way. Really appreciate you all in here. Brian Pumper says, Sheldon, I need to see a Yabusele trade like yesterday. I want my 76ers to just sit already. I wouldn't rule out something with Boston. Jaden Springer plus pick for Gershon Yabusele, I think makes a lot of sense, honestly. Mike, no news on the Knicks yet, but we are going to be watching that for sure. Gene, hopefully you were here for my Sixers coverage just a second ago. Mace here says, I hear news out of LA that Warriors and Lakers might make a big deal just before the deadline. I mean, we'll see, right? We got a few days to get there. Brady Moon says, what teams are looking at shedding salary? The Pelicans will definitely shed salary. This team is over the tax and have never paid the tax. So do with that information what you will. They will dip below the tax for sure. Okay. I promise that. That's like my firmest prediction of the trade deadline. Even more firm than Jimmy Butler even getting traded. The Pelicans will get below the tax one way or another. So Alex wants to know what I think of the Bucks options. For Milwaukee, as you can tell from the draft pick department, it's kind of bleak. This is their one tradable first right now. This is the one that they can trade, this 2031 first round pick. So what they're going to try and do is salary dump Pat Connaughton, and then they'll probably try and use some form of asset to make a trade. I don't really know, honestly, but we'll see how it all plays out for Milwaukee. Like if they do something for Bradley Beal, like they can maybe reset some of their stuff here a little bit by getting draft picks, which would be unique. SM says Lake Show Luka. You guys are going to have to brag about that for a while. I'm for as devastated as I am, I'm also happy for Lakers fans. Like you get to see an awesome player for a long time. Grand Info says Milwaukee seems to be content with their big three. And I like, here's the thing. I don't blame them with that. Now, Middleton has been really hit or miss. There's nights where he doesn't miss almost. And then there's nights where he doesn't make a single shot and has almost no impact on the game. So I think if you go into the playoffs this year with Chris Middleton, you're kind of jeopardizing a year of Giannis. But the B-Max says, with the AD move, why shouldn't someone like the Jazz lowball an offer for Zion Williamson, throw 2 or 3 heavy protected first and John Collins plus filler? Here's what I really think. I've been thinking about this all day long. Tell me why it's not this team right here on the graphic. Why is it not this team that makes a push for Zion Williamson? They have stuff that could make it work. And they're looking for the future of the team. They're looking for the future of the organization. Zion plus Luka, while it defensively doesn't sound super attractive, it's offensively it would be insane. So we'll see. We'll see what ultimately comes to fruition, of course. But I think Zion is like the under the radar, like if he gets traded, oh my gosh, name, like wow. Brian Pumper says, Paul George trade, please God. And I agree with Iceberg here saying you stuck with PG. I just don't think that's going to ultimately work out. If you're talking about bad fit between Zion and Luke, I mean, offensive talent tends to work out pretty decent together in the NBA. B-Max has an interesting point. If the Lakers do, the Jazz will find a way to do a few seconds. Yeah, like the Jazz will probably be involved in a bunch of little stuff here, at the very least. We'll see if what all comes to fruition, but I think this is like a really, really big win tonight. I'm going to go back over to the Twitter because I do want you guys to, again, take a look at the overall trade grades. I really hope you guys have enjoyed the video tonight, by the way. Video is going to be getting uploaded onto YouTube here pretty soon as well tomorrow. I have trade deadline predictions for a bunch of teams, by the way. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But I'm super stoked. Really do appreciate you all for being here watching today. And let's go back over to get to our biggest things here. So this is what San Antonio still has that are tradable, by the way, these tradable first-round picks, which is really good. They have a lot of tradable first-round picks yet to work with, which is kind of scary. If you're a fan of an NBA team, you should be like maybe a little bit worried, right? So that's good. And then when we look at the overall, first of all, how iconic, right? Look at that. One of the funniest pictures in NBA history. It's just, he makes De'Aaron Fox look like a little kid. It's such a funny thing. But my grades here, again, I just want to revisit this so everyone who's new doesn't see it, or if they haven't seen it yet. But the overall trade grade, sorry, I'm a little tired. I didn't fall asleep until like 5 in the morning last night after the Luka Doncic trade, and I was up by like 9 a.m. this morning. So I got about 4 hours of sleep. So I'm a little exhausted. But Spurs, I gave an A+. Fox and Wemby's a great starting point. Spurs still have Mavs, Wolves swap option 2030. Hawks picks to play with and majority of their own draft capital as well moving forward. Spurs improve now and maintain flexibility for a bigger trade or other improvements. Kings A-. Think the Sabonis, LaVine, DeRozan trio is better than it was with Vooch, LaVine, DeRozan by quite a bit. Monk is a good player that ties this together. Kings might have threaded the needle here, getting 2 real first-round picks in 5 seconds, while simultaneously getting a strong offensive player. Bulls A-. Chicago was able to ultimately turn Zach LaVine into a first. Something that was a challenging feat in the past. His strong play this year has helped them maybe be too good. Getting this 2025 pick back opens a ton of trade flexibility moving forward. Had to eat some mess salary, so not an A or an A+. Brian, thank you for the 5. Let's get some W's in the chat for Brian. I want to see W's from everyone. I'm also going to try and get some balloons in here. There it is. We got the balloons working. Let's get some more balloons. I have not done that for a long time. There we are. There's some balloons for Brian. He says, I expect the Warriors to make a desperate trade. Y'all can have PG for scraps. Get him away from me. We'll see what happens with Paul George. But let's get some big W's in the chat. Appreciate you guys all for being such an awesome chat. I want to get some W's for the chat too. So we got W's for Brian rolling in. I want some W's for the chat too. Everyone comment W chat down below. I'm going to send in some balloons for the chat even. You guys have been nothing short of spectacular, both last night and tonight now. So if you're a part of both streams, thank you to you. But also thanks for just being in here in this one. You guys are absolutely awesome. And I appreciate you guys all so much. We've got some huge W chats rolling in. Grant says there's only been like, 5 firsts that have exchanged hands since the new CBA. Yeah, the new CBA, well, so, I mean, part of that is when it, like, started. And, I mean, like, we're in season 1, technically, of, like, the real new CBA, like, actually being legitimate. So I love seeing the balloons. That's going to be the new thing here, too. We're going to get balloons coming in all the time. Let's see if I can get some more here for Grant with the balloon comment. But you guys have all been super awesome. Steven says if the ultimate goal is trade, I think Fox could be a key addition to that trade package. I mean, I don't even, honestly, at this point, like the fact that they just went and got Fox probably just shuts down this whole Trae Young thing anyway, Steven. I do understand the point you're going for, though, because it could be like Fox for Trae and then whatever, like picks one way or another. But it would be interesting. Matt Hatt says last night shook me. Yeah, same, dude. I could not sleep. I couldn't do anything. I literally sat on my couch and looked at the ceiling and contemplated life. So we'll see. Lance Miller says I'm a Mavs fan, so I have to put up an L. Yeah, we got L's. L's in the chat for Mavs fans. I'm one of them, so I can do this. It's okay. It's acceptable. Mav fan for life. That L stands for loss because we lost Luka Doncic. nothing yet here. I have not seen a trade yet, so this is not real, Charles. Don't put in fake messages, please. Again, we do have moderators too in the chat, so if you guys spam or you put in fake messages, you're going to get put in timeout, so you can't comment for a while. So we don't want to see that. But appreciate all the W's in the chat. Appreciate the L's too for the Mavs fans. You guys are awesome. Iceberg says still can be Area 51. We'll see. I don't think ETN has gotten back to me quite yet on this. So is there any quotes? No quotes yet. So, but he does a lot of great work. ETN does. Let me get that back up on the screen here too. So yeah, if you guys haven't, make sure to go follow. Links in the description. Go follow the Utility Sports Twitter. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Utility Sports as well. You guys are absolutely awesome. We're at almost 28,600 subs, which is crazy because we just hit 28,000 subscribers like 2 days ago. So you guys are all awesome, and I really do appreciate you all a ton. So it's been a lot of fun streaming here. I'll probably stay live here for another couple of minutes. Maybe get to the hour 20 mark. I'm at hour 16 right now. L for Luca from Gene. That's funny. Mass says I felt Mavs won. Davis will be player that need. Luca has lots of injuries. I mean, Davis has missed a ton of time in his career too, so we'll see. Mike says misunderstood trade. Mavs wanted AD and they had to trade Luca to get him. Yeah, it's actually insane. And then Nico Harrison literally today in his presser admitted to not knowing, or to Rob Pelinka basically saying, would you really do that? Gordo here says, do you at Utility Sports, the trade deadline do you think it'll be as insane as last night tonight? I mean, maybe not. I don't think any of us saw Luka Doncic getting traded. But think about it. We still have Jimmy Butler to get traded. We still have a lot of other stuff. So that's going to go on. Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton maybe. There's some really good players that could define either championship runs this year or in a few seasons. So I think there's a lot of stuff that can happen yet. Nikola Vucevic, Lonzo Ball. There's a lot of different stuff. B-Max says, Sheldon not day drinking today after the Mavs-Lakers trade was the only W for Mavs fans. Honestly, yeah, I had too much work to get done today. I've been so busy all day long getting videos recorded and stuff ready. So, yeah, but R3, this is, again, I should go back over to Windhorse quick because this is important news. The Heat's Jimmy Butler has communicated to the Warriors that he is unwilling to sign an extension there, and therefore trade talks to send him to Golden State have ended for now, sources tell ESPN, which is crazy. So, Music Note wants to know how far the Spurs go this year. So, here's the thing. Just because they just got De'Aaron Fox, people are going to be optimistic that they turn into this super awesome playoff team, and they might. There's definitely the possibility of that. They're still young and learning. This is a long-term move for San Antonio. I don't think that they're putting a ton of pressure on the season. They're probably going to be a first-round exit if they make the playoffs. And listen, there's a lot of chemistry stuff to learn. Fox has never played with Wembanyama before. They're going to have a lot of stuff to figure out. Trade is not official, but it's reported, so it will be done as long as everyone passes their physicals, specifically LaVine and Fox. Mike says Spurs usually don't do midseason trades and ease people into the system. Don't be surprised if Fox looks lost. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying is it might just be a little bit of a struggle for a little bit. So, and not in a bad way. It's just they got to learn how to play together and how to fit the overall system. And some of it will be Wembanyama adjusting to Fox. Where does Fox like to operate on the court? Where are his shots coming from? How does Fox want him to screen for him? It's all little stuff people don't talk about, but that stuff all adds up over the course of a 48-minute game. Gordo says, thanks for answering my question. Major kudos. Appreciate you, Gordo. A ton JT29 says we didn't get rid of none of the core. Yeah, San Antonio fans should be very happy. I think you guys are in a great spot. Dilla here says Brian Wright is the GOAT. Yeah, he did a great job in this trade. Come to Charlotte, Jimmy Buckets. Could you imagine Jimmy Butler on Charlotte? He would probably strangle LaMelo Ball in the first week. LaMelo Ball would have a bad defensive possession, and Jimmy Butler would be screaming and making a big deal on social media about it, just like he did in Minnesota. Taterhead, Spurs need a coach. I mean, we're just all going to hope and pray that Popovich is doing okay. I actually had the privilege of meeting Greg Popovich last year when I was covering the NBA as a credentialed media member, and he was really nice to me. He's a really great guy, so I'm hoping he's doing well and recovering quickly. R3 says they got Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes was not in this deal. Funny because the Kings and Bulls and Spurs worked out the DeRozan trade this offseason too together. It was a 3-team trade. So Wow Factor says Sup Bro reports out Orlando Magic wants Nurkic or Grayson or both, but who are they giving up in return? Can you check? I don't think that the Magic will get Nurkic. I don't think that'll happen, honestly, Wow Factor. Maybe Grayson, but it would be like, I don't know, Wendell Carter, maybe. Like, because I think the Magic could look at themselves and like really like say, well, we love Goga Bitadze. Like Wendell Carter for Grayson Allen, one of those picks that the Suns got from the Jazz isn't bad. Not bad at all. Grant here says first round pick since January 24. Dallas traded 2. Philly traded 2 firsts for Hield. I don't think did Philly trade 2 firsts for Hield? I think that wasn't. I thought it was like 3 seconds. Grant, you might have to check that Hield one. You might have to check that Hield one. There was also the sack first to Chicago. Well, so the other thing is that there was other for like. In the offseason, there was swap options traded and stuff. I think you're missing a couple of picks in here, but the answer is still not a ton. Zaddy here says Wemby and Fox going to be scary for a long time. I think so. Knox says any idea what the Blazers may do to bolster their young core? I hope trade DeAndre Ayton is what I hope they do. So we'll see. BMax says calling my shot. John Collins to Orlando unless Danny Ainge makes a play for Ingram or Zion. I think Utah's a sneaky team to watch, man. They've got draft capital and they've got a guy who's a known predator. That came out a little wrong. Danny Ainge is not a predator, but he preys on teams that are not able to keep their talent. That's what I meant to say. Jordan Poole to the Nuggets. That would be crazy if it actually happened. I don't think Denver is going to be interested in Jordan Poole, though. I do want to go over to DeMar DeRozan's Instagram quick. So DeRozan on Instagram had a story. He had a picture of him and LaVine at All-Star Game, and he had the song Reunited by Peaches and Herb. So DeRozan clearly not too upset about that, actually. I think he seems pretty cool with LaVine and him teaming back up. And I think this is one of the most important things here. De'Aaron Fox is smart. De'Aaron Fox wanting to be in San Antonio is a huge win. So we're all waiting for the Jimmy Butler trade. I'm going to be wrapping up the live stream here. I got to finish up some stuff for tomorrow. Again, I will be live tomorrow. But I appreciate you guys so much. Everyone, make sure to leave a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel. I think Trae Young will be staying in Atlanta. But again, I really do appreciate you guys all so much. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't miss out on the future uploads here. Mock Draft Monday coming out tomorrow. That's a little bit of a sneak peek to tomorrow's video, as well as live streams all week long for the 2025 NBA trade deadline. Really, really excited for all of the news that will be breaking over the next 4 days. Again, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.